Welcome to the next episode of Life, Love, and the Pursuit of Fi. I'm your host, Greg.
I'm your host, Austin.
With us today, we have Vivi. You may or may not know her, but she's a very awesome lady, and you might find her behind Personal Finance Club with Jeremy Schneider.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Vivi,
That's okay.
tell us about your childhood. What was it like growing up? Where are you from?
Whoa, okay, digging deep. Well, I was born in LA and basically lived in LA and Orange County my whole life. I come from Vietnamese descent. My family, they were immigrants. They fled Vietnam after the war to give me a better life. So there was definitely some struggles there being a Vietnamese American. I went to school for manufacturing engineering in LA, and I've gone through a lot of career changes because that was not for me, and I was trying to figure out what my purpose and passion were. And here I am now working for Personal Finance Club, teaching people how to invest and be better with money.
Awesome. Now, would you say, what was your relationship with money like growing up?
My family was relatively poor. I mean, we had enough money to get by. We didn't struggle, to like not have food, but we definitely, could not afford. We didn't have a house. We were always renting from other people. But I think my parents were pretty frugal, and that, helped me like be much more cautious when spending money, obviously coming from a scarcity mindset. So yeah, I actually would like save my lunch money. My mom would give me lunch money and I would not eat lunch. I would starve, very unhealthy, I know. But I would use that money to like buy stuff for myself because I hated asking for money and didn't think I, deserved to shop or buy things. And I was willing to sacrifice food in order to have that.
Nice. So, all this money you were saving up for lunch, what did you end up spending it on?
Shopping, clothes. Especially as a teenager, you're going through an identity crisis and you are trying to figure out who you are. And I was more on like that, like emo side. And, I needed to express myself in that way. So, a lot of Hot Topic, that's where I spent my money.
Did you have one of those colored highlights?
I didn't. I was not cool enough to do that. Plus, you have to like ask your parents to dye your hair, and that was too much. So it was more clothes and shopping for me. And my mom would be like I would like have stuff, and my mom would always be like, "What? Where'd you get the money to buy that? Well, how'd you get that?" And I would always just say like, "Oh yeah, my friend bought it for me." And yeah.
Did she believe that story?
She did, which is kind of weird because it's like, oh, well, what are you buying for your friends? And also, like, sometimes my mom would be like, hey, do you need more money for lunch? And I'm like, no, because I still had money, obviously. And she's like, what? I haven't given you money in a long time. How do you still have money? And I'd be like, okay, never mind. Yeah, I do need lunch money.
Yeah, I'll take that extra money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this time you weren't eating lunch. Were you just not eating at all for lunch, or were like your friends giving you their lunch or eating like their leftovers?
For the most part, I would not eat at all. I was very skinny as a child, and I didn't need to eat a lot, but I still got very hungry, by the time school was over. But people would give me their leftovers for sure, or like food that they didn't want. And I'm like, yes, I would be happy to take it. Thank you. And then after school, I would, eat immediately.
Nice.
So, what's it like working for the Personal Finance Club?
It's great. Honestly, I dreamed of working for Personal Finance Club before a job was available. And when he posted the job, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my calling. This is it. I need this job. And luckily, what he was looking for, were qualities and skills that I did have, like graphic design, websites, video, social media. So I was very lucky. And when I saw that posting, I decided to make a video to explain why he should hire me. And I spent the next 12 hours creating this video, and I submitted it at like midnight the same day. And, just a few minutes later, he's like, wow, you are definitely getting an interview. And I was like, oh my gosh. And yeah, I got the job. He offered it to me during my interview, which was crazy. He was recording it as well, so it's on video. But yeah, it's my dream job. I've always wanted to do something creative, whatever that may be, that can help people. And that's exactly what I get to do here. We get to do like all sorts of like fun, creative stuff, and we're changing people's lives. Jeremy's a very compassionate, generous person. Like, I consider him a good friend, and he's very understanding, and he gives me a lot. Like, he gives me a lot of money. Let's just put that out there. And I get unlimited PTO. We have to take a minimum of 1 week of PTO every quarter. I can work remotely. The hours are very flexible. And thanks to my job, I've met a lot of really cool people like you guys. So it's been great.
My heart. Well, we can't offer the same benefits as Jeremy, but maybe we'll
One
do some
day.
contracting work. Yeah, right. One day. We'll be like, hey, can you take a look at this for us?
For sure. I'm happy to help however I can. And it's really cool that you guys have started this and are creating your own brand. And I'm looking forward to see how you keep growing it.
Thank you. So what inspired your career change? Like, what was that like defining moment where you were like, I can't do this anymore?
Honestly, I had that moment pretty early on in my engineering career. And the problem was I didn't know what the alternative was. Like, I don't know what I would do instead. I don't have any other skills, but I forgot that I had graphic design skills because I've always loved graphic design as a kid. But I didn't know that it was like a feasible thing to pursue. And one day I came across a Facebook ad of these two girls who kind of did something similar. They just quit their jobs, bought a one-way ticket internationally, and started their own graphic design business and are doing really well. And they can, travel and work remotely. And I'm like, wow, I totally want to do that. And, I joined this community, and seeing other people being able to do that gave me the courage to be able to do it myself. It's definitely very hard to take the leap and just quit your job and start something completely new on your own. But I was lucky to have enough savings and, money to fall back on if I wasn't making money. And I decided, life is short. I'm not getting any younger. I don't have any kids or responsibilities now. So now's the time to do it. And I would regret not taking the risk more than I would regret, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's just better to do these things while you're young, right? Like, in case you fall and make a mistake, or if you land into your dream job, like some people.
Yeah,
I mean, landing a dream job is good too.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I think the saying is you always regret the what ifs and not the things you've done. So.
Yes, you only regret the things that you didn't do. And worst case scenario, if it didn't work out, I can always go back to engineering again. That's literally the worst thing that can happen. And I was like, that's not that bad, because that's not different from where I am now. So that definitely helped me.
When your investing style, right? Do you do the normal index funds and chill, or do you have a different investing style than most people?
My investing style is very basic. Yes, index funds. I barely own any individual stocks. There was one day, I think during the pandemic, when I was feeling risky, I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy an individual stock for the first time. And I bought one share of AMC, which was $15. And I was like, oh, look at me. Yeah, I've thought about, being more risky. You definitely have to have that, financial cushion to be able to take that risk. And I'm lucky to be in that position now, because before I wasn't making money doing graphic design. I had to save and be very, cautious. But now that I do have more of that ability to take risks, I don't really feel the need to, and I don't think it's worth it unless you really risk tens of thousands of dollars to actually, make it worthwhile. So I don't know. My heart just can't handle it. I do have a few thousand in crypto, which I honestly don't understand. But that's about it.
Nice. All in Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, right? Just kidding.
To the moon.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I during the pandemic, I made a decent amount off of Doge. If I the biggest issue was if I could have figured out how to set a stop loss on Robinhood, I just didn't know how at the time. I would have made 30,000, but instead I only made 5. So it's pretty upset.
Oh man,
so bad.
Yeah, it hurt. It's at the time I knew it was a joke, right? And I only invested in it as a joke, and I was like, if this is a joke coin, right? It's going to go to one of those numbers that is also a joke, right? A lot of people reference, So, so I was going to set my stop loss at that number, and yeah, I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I should have Googled it or something, but I don't know. Like I was just watching it go up and up and up, and I was like, oh man, like it's just going, it's not stopping. And then
Wow.
I was like 5,000, like that's it. I was like, I'm pulling the plug, like we're done, like just take it.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to know like when to stop, right? Because easily you could have lost money instead or like not made any money at all. So,
Yeah,
I'll take that as a win.
yep.
Absolutely. So, what would you say has been your biggest like financial blunder so far?
Oh, biggest financial blunder. Wow. I don't think this is that big of a deal, but I didn't have a Roth IRA for the longest time. So I just, put money in my 401k. I didn't even know what the maximum was. I was like, sure, 16%, whatever that number is. And after that, I invested into a regular taxable brokerage account because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how a Roth IRA worked. Um, but, looking back, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Sure, you lose money, but I definitely think things could have been worse. I don't know. Like, I haven't bought anything stupid. I mean, I do buy stupid things, but nothing like that crazy. um,
What do you buy that's stupid?
back in the day, I used to buy a lot of purses. Nothing crazy. They're like, $200, not Chanel. That's like $5,000 or anything. And
Yeah.
I still have them because I don't have the heart to donate them, but I also am too lazy to like try to sell
Resell?
them. Yeah, so I've just been keeping them with me for years and years.
Hopefully
Yeah.
they're appreciating the value. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with these at least. It's okay.
So, are you already fire, or like what are your fire goals?
I wish I was fire, but no, I am not at fire yet. Um, I would say my goal is to hit $1 million in terms of my portfolio. Um, I would say I'm like 25% there, 250K. And I don't feel as in a hurry to get there as I used to be when I was hating my job. But now that I do enjoy my job, like, I want to enjoy the journey and enjoy my life now and not be like so hung up on saving every penny in order to hit fire faster. Because I don't think that fire should be like the end goal when it comes to our lives, right? Because once you do achieve it, it's like, what's next? What would you do differently that you can't do today? And like, I think there's a lot of things that we can incorporate into our lifestyles today when we are not yet financially independent. And we don't have to wait for that, milestone or whatever.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Did you go ahead, Greg?
I'll say now when you do hit your fire number, how are you going to celebrate? Or I should say when you hit
Oh
your
my
first
gosh.
when you hit your first million, how are you going to celebrate?
That's a good question. Honestly, I have not thought that far because that moment seems so far away and I'm not so like caught up with achieving that, Um, so I don't even know what I'll do. I don't know where I'll be at that point. I don't know if I'll like have a home or where I'll live. I would love to travel for a very long period of time. That's probably what I aspire to do. But it's like, you don't need to wait till fire to do that. You can do that beforehand. So I don't know. I'm sure, I'll throw a party or something. That'd be fun. A very frugal party where everyone has to bring their own food and alcohol because we're frugal.
I'll be looking for that invitation.
You should host it in another country, right? Just a super expensive country. Just be a joke.
Hey, we're going to Dubai, but you got to bring your own food.
Yep.
It works out, I like it.
Did you have any resources besides PFC growing up that kind of inspired you to go on towards this path?
For sure, Mr. Money Mustache. He's the guy. He's the first person that introduced me to FIRE. And for me, what was most important, or what I got most out of him, was really thinking about how you spend your money and if it actually provides happiness for you. And if it does, if it's like short-term instant gratification, or is it long-term happiness? So that really helped me change my mindset, whenever I spent money. But I'm not perfect. I blew a lot of money at the bars and on clothes and stuff. That's okay. I'm human. But yeah, overall, that was my mindset.
Was there any specific piece of MMM's Mr. Money Mustache's articles that kind of stuck out to you?
Something that he said that I remember that I like is, he said, if you can't afford to lose it, you can't afford to buy it. And I really love that, because there are certain material possessions that I have that I really cherish, like my laptop or my phone, and one day I did lose my phone, and I was like, I'm in the position where it's okay. Like, yes, it sucks to have to buy a new phone, but I can live past that. And like, the worst part is, losing the sentimental value of all the photos because my phone was not backed up at the time. So like, it's helped me not get so attached to material things, for sure.
That's great, honestly. Especially like, I've seen it to where a lot of people, myself included, who come from the route of where our parents aren't wealthy, right? Like, are the ones who are pursuing this for ourselves, right? We're the ones who want to be able to live that lifestyle should we choose so. And I think that's great. And I think I read, I'm probably not quoting this correctly, I think like 2/3 of millionaires in America today are like self-made millionaires. And I could be incorrectly quoting that article. But if that's true, right, it's fantastic, right? And it just goes to show you, like, if you put in the hard work and the time and the effort, like, you can achieve anything.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the fact that normal people with average jobs can become millionaires. Like, you don't need to you achieve a really high paying job or start a business or do anything out of the ordinary to become a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like people want to be overnight millionaires, which gets people into a lot of trouble. Unless you invent something,
Yeah.
Hey, good for you.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about the asset classes such as virtual real estate or NFTs? What are your thoughts on those asset classes like that?
Oh, virtual real estate? I have not heard about that. What is that?
So it's like where you can buy a piece of land within the metaverse, right? Like the metaverse is something that Meta, formerly known as Facebook, created. It's like buying a piece of land in the internet, right? In a virtual world that was created by those companies.
Mm,
Um, and they have their own
wow.
currency, which is a specific cryptocurrency. Um, so a lot of companies, I've seen articles buying up virtual real estate, thinking it's. Have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One?
No, I have not.
Gotcha. Okay, so essentially, it's just like a very futuristic where everyone lives in virtual reality, essentially, and all these companies pay
Wow.
for advertising and stuff like that.
That's cool. That's cool. I don't understand it, but I do support it and I believe that it will continue to grow, especially anyone who's played online video games. Digital stuff does have a lot of value, and it only has value if we give it value, and that can happen in different ways. Um, so I totally support that stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you said you currently live in LA.
I live in Orange County, which is close to LA. Yes.
Okay. Have you with from a lot of people like who don't live in California, right? Um, this is kind of generalization of like
Hmm.
you when you hear of California, you hear of how expensive things are, and the prices of cost of living in California is high. Would
Hmm.
you agree? And if so, have you found ways to lower your costs of living in Orange County?
Great question. Yes, I do agree. Um, I would say mostly rent is the most, has the biggest discrepancy. I live in a one bedroom apartment and the rent is 2,800 a month. Um, and it hurts. It really hurts. um, but I'm okay with it because I get to live in great weather and I get to be close to all my friends and family. But something that I do to make up for it is not go out to eat much or drive a really old car or not buy a lot of clothes. So I definitely think it's okay to spend more money on things that are important to you and make sacrifices in other areas in order to make up for that. Um, but yeah, definitely things are expensive. The gym, gas is like $6 a gallon. Uh, but there's alternatives, right? You don't have to go to the gym. You can work out at home. You don't have to drive as much as you think you do. Um, but who knows? One day I'm gonna leave. It's gonna get too expensive. Um, but at the same time, salaries are higher generally in California, I think. So there's a lot of variables.
Hmm. Now, if you were to leave California, where do you think you would go? Would you go somewhere in the U.S. or leave the country to somewhere more affordable?
Oh man, that's a great question. I would love to leave the country. Um, I love traveling internationally, and there's so many cool places that are not in the US. Um, I love Tokyo. I love Seoul. I love Buenos Aires. Dubai is cool. Um, but obviously, at least for me, like being close to my family is very important. So I think that would be hard for me to do. But honestly, right now I am considering being a nomad, and I just want to sell everything I own and move out and like rent a storage or whatever to put stuff in and just hop around different places. In the US at first, just because, I'm still working and it's easier to deal with time zones and your cell phone service and currency and stuff. But honestly, I feel like since I've grown up in California, it's very hard to find a place that I like more, especially when it comes to weather. I'm very spoiled. But I did spend a month in Denver recently, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be so freaking cold. I don't want to do it. But yeah, I was there in February, and supposedly there was a lot of snow, but it wasn't that bad. As long as you don't go anywhere that day, the snow will melt within the next day or two, and you just blast the heater all day, and it wasn't bad at all. So I would be open to living somewhere like Denver, and I'm looking forward to exploring new places, and maybe there's a place that I would like to move to.
Would you say that California and Denver have the kind of same high cost of living, or would you say that one is different than the other?
I would definitely say the cost of living in Denver is lower, but it seems like the prices are increasing as it becomes more popular. But yeah, things in general are cheaper. The rent, real estate, gas, the gym, alcohol. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Now, what if you had to tell your younger self one piece of advice regarding life or money? What would it be?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I would say to stop living for others, because I've made so many decisions in my past based on what other people would think of me, or how other people would react, or how it would affect other people's opinions of me, because I want approval from others. I want people to like me, to validate me. And that can range from a lot of things, like how you look, how you dress, what you do for work, what you do for fun. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make you happy to try to please other people, because you can never please other people, or at least everyone. And you should do whatever the heck you want that makes you happy. And while you're doing these things that actually make you happy, people who appreciate that will gravitate towards you and like you for who you are. And that's a great way to live.
Wow, that was very deep and heartfelt.
Thank you.
So we'd be sure younger self would be sure to love that piece of advice.
Have you ever been a victim of lifestyle creep?
For sure. I've had my period of thinking I'm fancy and bougie. So yeah, when I've gotten raises at work, I'm like, oh yeah, I can afford to eat at these, fine dining restaurants and go out drinking all the time and buying these fancy clothes. There was one time I remember where I got a new job and the pay was like $10,000 more than my previous job. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to celebrate by buying a new car. And I didn't even want like a new car. I was going to buy a used car. And I was planning to spend like $15,000 on a used car. And I was like, wait, if I get a $10,000 raise and buy a $15,000 car, then I'm not actually getting a raise. I'm losing $5,000. And this car that I'm looking at is not much better than the current car that I have. I had and still have a 2005 Toyota RAV4. It does the job. It still has a cassette player, but you know, it's fine. It works. Yeah. And I was looking at a used Kia Soul and the power wasn't much better than my car. You know, the stereo wasn't that much better. So what am I really spending money on, you know? And I was like, no, I need to stop myself. It's not worth it. What's the point of getting this new job to have this car that is not that great? So I did not buy it.
It's funny you say that. I actually also own a RAV4, but I own a 2018.
Love it. Oh, whoa. Fancy.
Watch out. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I get it. I absolutely do. And for me, it was a point of where, you know, it was cell phones. At the point I was like, you know, wanting to buy like the newest cell phone all the time. And then someone in my life was like, why? Like, why do you want that? And I'd never really thought about it, right? Like, it's more like a keeping up with your friends, keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, why did I want this new cell phone when mine worked perfectly well?
Yeah, I think society pressures us into feeling like we're not good enough and we need to have the newest thing in order to keep up with other people.
Yeah, definitely a thing, especially the iPhone versus Android debate.
Oh, are we
people
gonna
hate those green
there?
text bubbles.
Samsung.
No, Team Android over here, so no debating.
Okay.
We
No
don't have
comment.
iPhone. Yeah, we don't have iPhones here. Sorry.
I think what's interesting about iPhones, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's much easier to compare iPhone models and be like, oh yeah, that one is older. But, you know, Android has so many different types of phones and it's hard to keep up and be able to tell like what's older than what. I don't know. Is that wrong or no?
It depends on your, I guess, flagship of Android. Because, like, there's Motorola, Samsung, Nokia. They all have, like, their own different versions of an Android phone. And they all have different specs. But if you find a particular brand that you prefer, so we use Samsung. And then even within Samsung, they have their different tiers of phones. So they have the ones that compete with the iPhone. Then they have the lesser tier ones where it just gets the job done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there's seems like more of a wide variety.
Yeah, so it's a little something for everybody.
Love that. Inclusion.
Yeah. So yeah, when my friend brought up that fact that I was just like wanting to keep up with everyone, you know, I took a hard look and I was like, you know, like I'm all right. Like I stuck with my phone and like I actually just recently upgraded, but it was due to I was given a gift, but I had this phone and this one is it's the S8 Plus. It was from 2016, 2017. And so,
Ancient.
Yeah, I know, right? And I just recently upgraded it, and I'm just like, whoa! Like the difference is, it's interesting.
And how do you feel about your purchase?
I feel like I'm back in society now, right? Like I'm among the upper class, right?
You're out of the Stone Ages.
Yes. Yep. I'm in high society now, right? Like this is what it is, right? You're happy, apparently.
So
I used to have like relatively new phones and upgrade often. And I remember like, having a 1-year-old phone versus a brand new phone. Like when I get the new phone, I would be like so happy and so excited and like, but after a week or two, it just feels like your old phone and you don't even notice that it's a new phone anymore.
yeah, totally. I feel like since they came out with smartphones, like getting a new phone doesn't feel the same as like back in the day. You'd get like be one of the first persons with a razor, and you're like the coolest thing.
Oh my gosh!
Now you're like, oh, you have another iPhone. Cool.
I'm waiting for the first all glass phone, like the very first all glass. Because, like you guys said, like I feel like they're just like releasing one small update every single year to just keep it stringing along, right? But like, if we ever have like a fully transparent phone, that'd be awesome.
Austin will be the first to have it.
As long as it's Samsung, right? That's the key. Actually, I spent a year in Korea, and I got to go to the tower there, Seoul Tower, and yeah, it was beautiful, right? Like I love Korea; it's a beautiful country, food's great, it's a fun time for sure.
Was the service good in the tower?
Yeah, funny enough. So I was there back in 2016, and the internet that they had there is just beyond what we could even think of here, right? It was back then. It was how it is right now, like super fast. Like you get like 1 gigabit speed or whatever. That's what it was like back then. So
no way.
I'm curious to see how it's been transformed.
Wow.
So, what is next for you, Vivi?
What is next for me? Wow. I want to continue working at Personal Finance Club and growing the brand. We have tons of ideas and exciting things happening. And I want to be a part of it. And in terms of outside of that, I don't know what's next. Like, I would love to continue making my own content, growing my own brand, but it's kind of too much for me, honestly. Like, it takes away a lot from my personal life, my health, physically and mentally. And I feel like social media is already consuming my life with my job. Sometimes I want to take a break from that, but I do know the value in creating content. It's great. Like, it provides a lot of connections and it's a lot of fun. So I'm working on finding a balance and trying to figure out how I can make more content in a healthy way.
That's awesome. And, I'm sure you guys are going to expand amazingly, right? Like, as you already have. You're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger until you can't.
Yeah. So you're the number one finance account.
Yeah, let's go. If we don't get surpassed by you guys, of course.
We'll see you in about 10 years.
So yeah, that'll be a while for that.
It's a long-term game, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of the biggest reasons why, like we wanted to do this is like, a lot of people don't have something they retire to, right? Like, so it's like, why not, show how we walk the path and show other people how to do it as well. So it's like, being able to show that there's a way to escape the rat race and that you can, never have to work again and live that work optional life. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you guys are doing this because I know like getting started is the hardest thing. I mean, actually, I don't know if getting started is the hardest thing or like consistently creating content. It's all hard in its own way. So it's really cool that you guys are doing this.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
All right. So this has been the Life, Love, and Pursuit of Fi podcast with Greg.
And Austin.
Thank you, Vivi, for joining us tonight. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. You can find me on Instagram at Vivi Tron.